Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you happened while you were asleep, unaware of anything beyond your own quiet rest. It wasn't in some distant or forgotten place, nor in any shadowed wilderness far away. It unfolded right where you live, right at the boundary between your world and everything outside it, your own doorstep. Nothing dramatic announced it. Nothing broke the silence loudly enough to wake you. Yet something unusual did occur, just outside your entrance, close enough that it almost feels unsettling in hindsight. A stranger appeared during the night, someone you did not know, someone who did not belong to your everyday life or familiar surroundings. She wasn't lost in the usual sense, nor did she seem to be passing by without thought. Instead, her presence felt deliberate, as if she had paused there for reasons only she understood. She lingered near your gate for a brief while, carrying an air of heaviness, the kind that makes ordinary moments feel strangely charged, without any clear explanation. There was no clear message left behind, no obvious sign of what she intended, only the lingering fact that someone had stood where few ever do at that hour. And yet, what matters most is not fear or assumption, but awareness, that even the quietest nights can hold brief encounters we never notice in real time, and that not every unknown presence carries meaning beyond the simple fact that life outside our view continues moving, even when we are asleep and unaware of it. Someone who watches your door more carefully than you ever realized. But before I reveal what stopped her, why she came, and why blood came out of her mouth, you must see what actually happened, step by step, in the very hour you were sleeping. My child, let me take you to that moment, when the night settled and the world grew still. The city felt empty, untouched, almost breathless. Your neighborhood slipped into silence, each light fading one by one, until the only thing awake was the moon staring down from above. People inside every house were resting, unaware of the shift in the air. But outside your home, a presence approached. Her footsteps were slow at first, dragging across the ground. She moved like someone carrying weight, far heavier than her own body. Her clothing was ragged, stretched, and coated in the scent of burnt leaves and damp soil. Her hair hung over her face, and parts of her skin glowed faintly with dust from powders she had rubbed on herself. My child, if someone else had seen her, they would have turned away. But she didn't care. She wasn't trying to hide. She knew exactly where she was going, exactly whose home she needed, exactly whose destiny she wanted to interrupt. And that destiny was yours. She stopped in front of your door and placed her hands upon the wood, long thin fingers scraping lightly at the surface as though she were greeting something invisible. Then she reached into her cloth pouch and pulled out a small stone, flat, carved with unfamiliar lines and coated in something sticky and dark. She pressed that stone against your door, and then the ritual began. She whispered words that carried vibrations not meant for human ears. Words that seemed to curl and twist into the air like threads of smoke. Her breath grew heavier, faster, and her eyes shifted from human to something else. My child, do not fear this description. I am revealing it so you know why I had to intervene. The moment her whispers deepened, she took a nail-like object, thin, sharp, rusty, and began scratching your door, not lightly, not gently, but with intensity, as though she was carving a message for the unseen. Strange lines formed, shapes that carried meanings she could not fully understand, patterns she had copied from a book she should never have opened. As she carved, the air thickened around her. The wind stopped. The night held its breath. Every stroke on your door was an attempt to weaken the peace inside your home. Every line was meant to open something, every symbol, a key she believed would unlock harm. And all of this, my child, happened while you slept under the illusion of safety. But darkness knew you were unaware. She knew you would wake up with no memory of this moment. That is why she chose that time, when your body was still and your spirit was resting. Yet she made one mistake. She assumed your home was unguarded. With her carvings complete, she removed a small clay bowl from her bag. Inside it were ashes mixed with leaves and something wet and metallic. She lifted the bowl and blew into it softly. A black smoke rose, thick, slow, and heavy, drifting upward as though it had a mind of its own. The smoke curled around her head, around your door, around the ground beneath her feet. And then she whispered again. But this time, the tone was different. It was desperate, possessive, aggressive. She believed she had your door in her control. She believed her ritual would work because she had used every tool she knew. She believed no one was watching. And then, everything shifted. The wind returned. The air cracked. Something pressed against her spirit. She felt it instantly. Her breath trembled. Her fingers paused. Her voice broke. She tried to continue, forcing her chanting to rise, but your door pushed back. Not physically, not visibly, but spiritually. And that's when it happened. Her throat tightened suddenly. Her chest seized. Her face contorted. She leaned forward, gripping your doormat with both hands, and before she could speak another word, she vomited blood. Not a little, not a drop. Blood, thick, dark, warm, splashed across the ground beneath her. She suddenly inhaled sharply, as if the weight of the moment had caught her off guard, her expression shifting into disbelief and unease. What had unfolded was never truly meant to be harmful or deliberate. It was the result of confusion, emotion, and an energy she herself did not fully understand. In that instant, everything she was attempting seemed to collide with a force of resistance she could not interpret, something that made her hesitate and step away from her actions. Her confidence faded, replaced by a nervous awareness that she had crossed into something far more intense than she had anticipated. She brought a trembling hand to her face, trying to steady herself, eyes darting around as if searching for clarity in the silence of the room. Slowly, she began undoing what she had done, not out of fear of anyone else, but because an inner realization pressed on her conscience, urging her to stop and reconsider. Each movement became more careful, more uncertain, as though she was erasing a mistake she finally recognized. Her breathing remained uneven, not from external threat, but from the pressure of her own emotions catching up to her. In that quiet stillness, it felt as if an unseen awareness surrounded the situation, not as something frightening, but as a steady reminder that her actions were being observed by her own deeper understanding. Eventually, the tension softened, and what remained was the heavy silence of reflection, where confusion slowly gave way to awareness, and restraint replaced impulse. I turned her symbols into nothing. I turned her attempt into failure, and that is why she ran. She did not walk. She did not slip away quietly. She fled, stumbling, gasping, terrified, because her darkness had been confronted by a force she could not overpower. My child, you have no idea how close her intentions came to touching you. But they didn't, because I didn't allow them. My child, now listen. What she attempted last night was not small, not harmless, not meaningless. She came to steal your peace, to weaken your joy, to drain your strength, to interrupt your destiny, to block breakthroughs that were already on their way, to derail blessings that were positioned right before you, to close pathways you've been praying for. But she failed, not because she was weak, but because I stood there. I know how long you've been fighting battles you never asked for. I know how much pressure has been resting on your heart. I know how often you've wondered why things feel harder right before they get better. But understand this, it's because you are close, closer than you think, closer than the enemy wants you to believe. The darkness that visited your door last night was a last attempt, a desperate attempt, a final push against you. Because breakthrough is closer than ever, and the enemy always fights hardest right before losing completely. My child, you were protected last night. You were covered last night. You were shielded last night. Not because you saw anything, not because you prayed at that exact moment, not because you were awake. You were protected because I am your guard, even when you sleep. And now, I will reveal more. My child, now that you have seen what unfolded outside your home last night, it is time to show you what you did not feel, what you did not hear, and what was happening in the invisible realm while that woman tried to touch what belongs to you. Because what took place at your door was not just a physical event. It was a collision, a clash between two worlds. Darkness on one side, divine presence on the other. And you must understand what happened behind the scenes, inside the atmosphere, in the realm that eyes cannot see. So listen, my child. Let me take you deeper. The moment she arrived, long before she scratched your door, long before she lit her smoke, long before her whisper turned into dark chanting, the air itself reacted to her presence. Spirits of confusion followed her. Shadows trailed behind her feet. Her intentions carried weight, heavy, bitter, twisted weight, and the moment she stepped onto the ground near your door, the earth beneath her felt the shift. Even your home sensed it. Every wall, every window, every corner of your house reacted, because your home carries something her darkness cannot stand. Your home carries my protection. There are places darkness walks freely, but not every home permits it. Not every door allows it. Not every atmosphere tolerates it, and your house is not a place darkness can comfortably breathe in. She thought she chose your home, but truthfully, she approached a place that already had a spiritual guard waiting. My child, do you know why darkness tries to target the ones who are chosen? Because chosen people carry assignments. They carry destiny. They carry blessings that haven't even manifested yet. Darkness hates potential it cannot destroy, hates peace it cannot interrupt, hates blessings it cannot steal. And that is why she came. She came because something on your life is about to open. Something you prayed for, something you waited for, something you cried for, something you hoped for even when hope felt foolish. Your breakthrough has been moving closer, and darkness sensed it before you did. So last night was not random, it was intentional, an attack planned in silence. This story begins in a place shaped by frustration, where unseen forces are believed to gather when something meaningful is about to unfold. The idea is simple. Opposition often appears strongest right before transformation. And so, the message is not about weakness, but about unexpected strength discovered under pressure. What seemed like a targeted challenge was never truly about vulnerability, but about the presence of something greater within you that others cannot easily understand. There are moments when negative intent tries to approach a life, yet before it can take form, an unseen layer of protection already surrounds it. In such moments, fear can briefly appear, like a cold instinct warning of danger, but it does not define the outcome. Instead, it becomes a signal that awareness is heightened and boundaries are already being held. Even when intention tries to move forward with confidence, it often meets resistance it cannot explain, as if the environment itself refuses alignment with harm. Behind the visible world, there is always the idea of balance, something steady, quiet, and unshaken that stands between you and anything meant to disturb your peace. What feels like movement from darkness is often met with an even stronger stillness that dissolves it before it can settle. And in that silence, protection is already complete, holding its ground without noise, without fear, and without effort. It simply exists, unwavering, maintaining a quiet order that cannot be easily disrupted by external disturbance or intention. Within that steadiness, clarity returns, and what once felt heavy slowly loses its hold completely now. She drew the second symbol, and it cracked mid-air spiritually before touching your door. She drew the third, and it dissolved the moment it attempted to carry power. To her physical eyes, it looked like she carved something. But spiritually, every mark she drew on your door failed. Not one symbol held power. Not one whisper entered your home. Not one attempt reached your spirit. Because every time she extended her hand, something brighter, stronger, greater, blocked it. You were asleep, but heaven was not. My child, let me show you what happened the exact moment she vomited blood. She was chanting. Her voice was growing harsh, louder, more forceful. She believed she was gaining ground. But she didn't know that my presence was growing stronger behind her. She didn't know that her own spirit was collapsing under the weight of holiness surrounding your home. She didn't know that what she called on refused to come near you. Listen, my child. Darkness can perform rituals anywhere, but when it comes close to the children I protect, even darkness becomes afraid. Her chanting reached its highest point. She lifted her bowl of smoke. Her voice quivered. Her arms trembled. She tried to release something toward your home, something heavy, something meant to drain your peace, something meant to push confusion into your life. But the moment she raised her hands, the atmosphere turned against her. The air thickened. The ground pulsed under her feet. Her throat tightened. Her voice failed. She tried to push through, but she couldn't. Her own spiritual energy collided with the shield around your home and bounced back into her body. The shock hit her chest, ran through her veins, clogged her breath, and then her stomach twisted violently. Her throat surged upward, and she vomited blood because the dark force she tried to release was forced back into her own body. That blood was not ritual, it was not sacrifice, it was backfire. Her own darkness turned on her because she tried to attack a home that carries MY covering. My child, the blood she vomited was the proof that darkness cannot touch you. Her panic was unbearable. She wiped her mouth, but her hands shook uncontrollably. She looked around, as though someone had tapped her shoulder, because spiritually, someone had. My presence pressed against her. Her spirit felt judged, exposed, challenged. She tried to whisper again, but no sound came out. Her own voice betrayed her. She tried to finish the ritual, but the energy she needed collapsed. She tried to stand firm, but her legs weakened. Because the moment she violated the boundary around your home, the moment she tried to write on your door, the moment she tried to target your destiny, heaven responded. And when heaven responds, darkness breaks. Now, my child, let me tell you why she wiped everything. She was terrified, not of neighbors, not of humans, but of being recognized by the realm of light. Because when my presence descends, darkness loses its disguise, its power melts, its confidence shatters. The symbols she carved became meaningless to her. They turned cold. They held no influence. She knew her mission was over. Her ritual was destroyed. Her attempt was exposed. Her power was broken. She scraped everything off your door so quickly because her instinct said, "Leave now, run. Something holy is standing behind you." She grabbed her bowl, her broken tools, her useless stone, and she ran, stumbling, gasping, disappearing into the shadows like a creature fleeing sunlight. She didn't run because she was done. She ran because she was defeated. Now listen, my child. I'm sharing this with you not to create fear, but to help you see things from a clearer, calmer perspective. There are moments in life when we are moving through changes without fully realizing how supported or steady we actually are, even when everything feels uncertain on the inside. Your environment, your routine, and the space around you have likely remained more stable than your thoughts have suggested, even if your mind has been interpreting things in a more intense way. What you have been experiencing lately, this sense of pressure, mental fatigue, emotional heaviness, and those unexplained waves of tiredness can often appear when a person is standing at the edge of a new phase in life. It is not unusual for the mind to register transition as discomfort, especially when expectations, responsibilities, or internal growth begin to shift at a deeper level. Sometimes, even small challenges can feel amplified, not because something external is targeting you, but because your inner world is processing change faster than you can consciously explain. Those moments where you felt blocked, distracted, or unusually drained may simply be reflections of stress responses, emotional buildup, or subconscious anticipation of what is coming next. Growth rarely feels silent. It tends to create internal resistance before clarity arrives. What you are sensing is not opposition from outside forces, but rather the natural tension that appears when life begins to move you toward a new direction. This stage often comes right before breakthroughs, opportunities, or personal evolution become visible, making everything feel heavier just before it starts to make sense again. Darkness tried to weaken you before manifestation arrives. The attack was not about your weakness, it was about your destiny. But hear me well. Everything darkness planned last night failed. Everything sent toward you returned to the sender. Everything spoken against you collapsed at my feet. You are safe. You are protected. You are surrounded. You are mine. And no ritual, no witchcraft, no whisper of darkness can rewrite the story I have written for you. My child, now that you have seen how the ritual cracked apart at your doorstep, you must understand something far deeper than what your eyes or imagination could ever capture. What happened last night was not only an interruption, it was a revelation, a sign that darkness is running out of room around your life, a sign that the enemy is losing influence over the areas he once tried to control. Because if the attack had been strong, she would have completed her ritual. If the darkness had been confident, she wouldn't have trembled. If her power had been rising, she would have stood firm. But everything inside her collapsed, because something around you has already shifted spiritually. And that shift, my child, is the reason she came in the first place. Darkness doesn't waste time on empty dreams. It doesn't attack those with nothing ahead. It doesn't chase people whose future holds no fruit. It comes after the ones who are rising, the ones who are transforming, the ones whose name is being whispered in heaven. And your name, my child, has been echoing louder in the spiritual realm than you realize. You have been praying for change, hoping for breakthroughs, asking for clarity, and every one of those prayers has moved something in the unseen. Those prayers stirred the atmosphere around you. Those prayers caught the attention of heaven, and because of that, your life has become a place of spiritual movement. That movement is what she felt. Even before she reached your house, her spirit sensed resistance. Something in her chest tightened. Her energy didn't flow the way it usually did when she targeted others. Her steps slowed the closer she came. The darkness guiding her grew uneasy, but her intentions pushed her forward anyway. She thought your exhaustion made you vulnerable. She thought your recent worries left you open. She thought your emotional fatigue weakened the protection around you. What she didn't know was that my presence grows strongest when you feel weakest. What she didn't know was that the prayers you whispered when you felt tired built a wall around your home. What she didn't know was that the strength she thought you lacked had already been replaced by mine. When she pressed her hand against your door, she expected it to feel lifeless. She expected it to absorb her darkness. But instead, something pushed back, something she didn't expect. The moment her palm touched the wood, she felt pressure inside her chest, like the air around your home refused to let her step further. That pressure wasn't your door resisting her, it was your covering resisting her. Your home carries a quiet presence that even your own eyes don't fully see. but every spiritual force recognizes. And that presence startled her more than the blood she coughed out later. My child, the reason she tried to carve symbols so quickly was not confidence, it was fear. She wanted to finish before the barrier she felt grew stronger. She tried to rush the process because she sensed her window was closing. But darkness cannot rush in places where light has already made a foundation. Her hands shook not because she was cold, but because her power weakened with every second she spent near your home. You don't understand the weight your prayers carry. You don't understand how many nights I have stood near your bed. There are moments when a person looks back and realizes how much quiet protection life has carried for them, without ever announcing itself. Not every challenge that approaches actually becomes part of our experience. Many dissolve before they can take shape in our reality. Some situations feel as if they are building intensity outside our awareness, yet never truly enter our personal space or affect our peace of mind. What feels like pressure or disturbance from a distance often loses its strength the closer it gets to a grounded and centered environment. There is a natural boundary around stability, and when that boundary is strong, negativity tends to fade rather than penetrate. Even the things we fear or imagine as overwhelming often turn out to be far less powerful when they meet calmness, clarity, and emotional balance. Sometimes we only recognize this protection in hindsight, when we notice that what could have disrupted our path simply never arrived in any meaningful way. Instead of external forces being the focus, it becomes clearer that inner steadiness plays a much larger role than we initially understand. When emotions are anchored and the mind remains composed, outside tension loses its influence and cannot take root. Over time, this creates a sense of reassurance that life has its own way of filtering what truly belongs to us and what does not. In that realization, there is a quiet respect for resilience itself, not as something dramatic, but as a steady presence that keeps life aligned, stable, and undisturbed even when uncertainty seems near. She tried to regain control by wiping everything. She thought if she erased the symbols, she could undo the consequences of touching what wasn't hers. But it was too late. Her ritual had already snapped. Her power had already broken. And the worst part for her, she had already been seen. Not by neighbors, not by humans, not by anyone on earth, but by the presence standing behind her. My presence. Child, I want you to understand this deeply. She didn't flee because she failed. She fled because she was exposed. Darkness operates through secrecy. Rituals thrive in hidden places. Evil grows in silence. But when my presence stepped forward, even without a sound, her spirit felt the weight of judgment, and no darkness can stand in judgment's light. Now you must hear the most important truth of all. She didn't choose your house simply to ruin your peace. She came because something in your life is rising that threatens the enemy's plans. You are closer to a blessing than you realize. Something long delayed is beginning to unlock. Something heavy is about to lift. Something you have been praying for is shifting into place, and heaven is moving things in your favor, piece by piece, connection by connection, moment by moment. Darkness sensed this long before you saw any signs. That is why the attack came. That is why she stood at your door. That is why she risked everything. Because the enemy always tries to strike when victory is near. You are not in a season of loss. You are in a season of transition. You are not in a season of defeat. You are in a season of establishment. You are not in a season of collapse. You are in a season of arrival. And last night was proof. Proof that heaven is moving. Proof that your blessing is close. Proof that you are protected even while unaware. My child, what is coming for you is bigger than what tried to stop you. What is rising for you is stronger than tried to target you. What is entering your life is far greater than what attempted to steal from you. And now, I will reveal what that woman sensed. The true reason she feared your future. My child, now that the truth of last night has been fully uncovered, I must reveal the final layer, the part the enemy hoped you would never know. You understand what she did, how her ritual collapsed, why she fled, and how my presence stood between you and every shadow she tried to summon. But now you must understand why she came specifically to you. Out of all the homes, all the doors, all the places she could have targeted, she chose yours. And the reason is not rooted in fear of your weaknesses, but in fear of your future. You see, my child, darkness is always watching for movement. It listens for prayers that shift the atmosphere. It monitors hearts that begin to heal. It pays attention to people who start rising from situations that once kept them low. And lately, heaven has been stirring things around you in ways you have not fully recognized yet. The favor that has been quiet is about to speak. The opportunities that seemed distant are moving closer. The connections that were blocked are starting to open. And the destiny that felt delayed is stretching its wings again. This woman sensed that shift. She didn't understand it, but she felt it. The unsettling tremor in the realm of darkness that warned her, this one is slipping out of our grasp. She wasn't sent to destroy you. She was sent to delay you, because the enemy knows something you do not fully see yet. Your next season carries a change so deep, so life-altering, so spiritually significant, that it terrified the forces that have been trying to keep you stagnant. My child, this is the truth. You are entering a phase where old limitations are breaking. You are stepping into a chapter that darkness cannot control. You are rising into blessings that were held back for too long. That's why she came. Not because you were vulnerable, but because you were ascending. But hear me, she was too late. The very thing she tried to block has already been set in motion. Your name has been spoken in rooms you haven't entered yet. Your story is being rewritten with grace. Your steps are being guided toward breakthroughs you didn't even know were designed for you. Your spirit is being prepared for blessings that will shift the entire rhythm of your life. This is what frightened her. Because darkness cannot stop what I have ordained. It can only try to distract you. It can only try to disturb you. It can only try to steal your attention. But it cannot stop the arrival of what has already been released from heaven. And last night, when she stood at your door, her ritual didn't just fail. It revealed how protected you truly are. Let me tell you something, my child. Protection is not proven by the absence of attack, but by the absence of damage. She came with everything she had, and nothing touched you. There are people who would have collapsed under what you face silently. There are souls who would have drowned under the pressure you carry. There are moments in life that could easily break a person, yet somehow you continue to move forward, despite everything pressing against you. You rise each day carrying more than anyone can see, and still you manage to stand with a quiet kind of courage that often goes unnoticed. Even when exhaustion settles deep in your bones and doubt tries to slow your steps, something within you refuses to give up. That persistence is not ordinary. It reflects a strength that keeps you steady in situations that once felt overwhelming. People around you rarely understand the internal battles you face, the silent conversations in your mind where you convince yourself to try again, even when energy feels absent. They don't see the emotional weight you sometimes carry alone, or the way you keep your struggles contained just to function through daily life. Still, you endure, and that endurance shapes you in powerful ways. It proves that your spirit bends but does not break, that your will adapts instead of collapsing. There is something deeply meaningful about how you continue to show up for life, even when you feel unseen or misunderstood. Every challenge you have moved through has contributed to a quiet resilience that cannot be taken away. And even in the middle of uncertainty, there remains a steady reminder that you are not without direction or support. What once felt like setbacks are slowly becoming proof of how much you can withstand and still keep going. You are learning, growing, and stepping into moments that reflect the strength you have built over time, even when you didn't realize it was forming within you.